I said, "Welcome to Blood Bowl 2020, Jim," and he's like, "Oh, shit."
Now, as most of you will know, I usually get the audience quiet, the guests quiet, and then I do an intro, and then I cut over to us. With glowworm on, that's quite tricky to achieve, so we've just decided to
I
go
shall
for
be
it.
angry.
Welcome to One World, One Blood Bowl, episode 36. Um, Having fun playing Blood Bowl, which is why we're smiling and laughing already. We're talking already about having fun playing Blood Bowl. So that's what we want to talk about tonight. I've invited on three lovely people, all of whom I know to have fun in their Blood Bowl. That's a paramount and important thing to them. So I want to talk about that because too often we perhaps talk, particularly here, about what's the best setup and what's happening with the meta and how do we grind out the sweaty try-hard wins that we're all looking for. And don't get me wrong, I still believe that when I ask a lot of people who say, I want to have more fun with my Blood Bowl, what they often mean is, an extra 5 or 10% win percentage would really make it more fun for them. But there is other types of fun. There are other ways of having fun. But when we all started playing Blood Bowl, we thought it looked really fun. Chainsaws, goblins, balls flying around, elves doing ludicrous things, orcs on a pitch, playing American football. That sounds fun. Not just funny, but fun. So I want to talk to some people about exactly that and see, is there still fun when you're playing lots of Blood Bowl? Does that disappear and how do you try and keep hold of it? Because I still have fun, I still find it funny, and I still have fun. But people are surprised by that. They think I'm a sweaty tryhard. I've got accused of that many, many times. Yesterday, full disclosure, I went to a tabletop tournament. I played 4 games of real life Blood Bowl. And I went to have fun. A friend of mine runs it. He's been on this show, Tom Loinster. And of the 3 he runs in London every year, one always has what he calls the crazy rule set. So this time we could have 2 mutations, whatever team you were taking, and if you went down the tiers, you could get more mutations. So everything was mutating. Obviously, there was no dwarves or chaos dwarves. Some of you will consider that fun all by itself, because of the prevalence of claw. But there was lots and lots of fun, silly builds. I decided it would be fun for me to exploit and break his rule set, so I took Underworld. I took Creek because he'd ruled every megastar except Creek out. And because I have a figure of Creek to use that I was never going to get to use otherwise, because he'll never be seen again now. And also, you could take a legendary lineman, and I have a fantastic figure of Ripley dressed in the alien loading frame apparatus that has never seen play either. And so I could take a legendary lineman with Dirty Player +2 and Sneaky Git, and I thought Ripley would be the perfect figure as my legendary linewoman. So I was having fun with some of the figures I would never play with otherwise, a roster I've never played before. And I thought everyone else seems to be having fun with Underworld. Let's see if I find that fun. So I arrived and found out that Underworld had been dropped to Tier 1 from Tier 2, which is a definitely needed nerf that I'm 100% behind. Instantly costing me a mutation. The secondary, which I had guard on my goblin, which I thought that sounds fun. I've faced that and it is loads of fun. And something else. Oh yeah, a 2-headed line rat was the mutation I lost. And a primary. So I took a wrestle off one of my line rats. So I lost 3 skills instantly, and yet Underworld was still fine. They really don't need to be Tier 2. They were completely balanced at Tier 1. That's absolutely fine. And I thought we'd just have some fun, and Creek was terrible, which you sort of expect with a ball and chain against anyone that knows what they're doing. But I did ultimately come down in Game 4 on the top table to a 3+ with reroll to win the tournament, and it went down. And I didn't make it. I didn't find that particularly fun. But obviously I'd had loads of luck to have reached that point in the tournament. So was I having fun? Was the day fun? Yeah, it was. But perhaps if I'd lost game 1 and hence had no chance, I drew game 1 and then came back with 2 wins. And if I'd won the third tournament because of the bonus points, I'd have been 3-1-1, 3-1-0, and I'd have won. The guy that won, obviously then was, we drew in the final game, so he was 3-1-0, and there was one other on 3-1-0, and he beat him on tiebreakers. So it was fun competing hard. I enjoyed the tournament. But perhaps if I'd lost and not been, knowing I could still have a shot, perhaps I'd have relaxed and had more fun. Perhaps some people do. When I looked around the room, it didn't seem like loads of people were having more fun than me. And when you see a photo of people enjoying Blood Bowl, there they are concentrating with those huge smiles not on their faces. So let's talk to some people about fun. Where am I going wrong? How can I increase my fun? Is it my fault? Am I just got a bad attitude and I should be having more fun? So I've invited lots of people on. Firstly, I want to say hello to brand new on the show. We have Eldritchfox. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Well, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How's your day been?
Very nice indeed, thank you. I've most of it in the garden. I was talking to you a whole lot, and yeah,
Well,
it's all good.
I'm glad you've come on in. I've got you on because someone told me you organise fun tournaments where you make other people have fun.
We do like to have fun in our tournaments.
Okay,
Oh,
so I mean, like the tournament I went to yesterday, did that sound like a fun rule set? Is that the sort of thing you do?
yeah,
Why?
yeah.
And how do people respond?
Uh, the tournament of say 20 people, realistically, it's going to be 3, 4 people that can win it. So the other 16 people, what's their goal? What are they going to go to that tournament for? They're going to go to enjoy themselves. They're going to go to see their mates, roll some dice, and have a laugh. Essentially, I lean into that. So I ran a tournament in February called the Pissed Up Terry Testimonial, which is named after a Goblin hooligan from my local tabletop league who
Right.
was being retired. That's all footballers do when they retire. They have a testimonial, and essentially everyone had to wear a silly hat. No, they didn't have to. If you wore a silly hat to the tournament, you got a free reroll. They're not forcing anyone to be silly, but you might as well be silly.
Okay, yeah. So and no one's gonna, even the sweatiest tryhard's gonna think, I need a hat for this.
Exactly. You're sat in a room with 30 other people all wearing silly hats. It's a bit hard to be a tryhard at that point, really.
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it?
Exactly. And the
Do, are,
whole
are there people that sort of actively lean in or ask for certain things or sort of go beyond what you imagine?
my long-time collaborator and friend come up with a lot of rule sets together, and I have to rein him in normally. Where he's going, let's have exploding balls, let's have chickens coming on the pitch. Just throw all the crazy at it and see what sticks. And I thought, well, let's have half the crazy this time and the other half next time. So,
And does
still
anyone
in,
moan? Do you get moaners that go, oh, if only this was just four skills and
uh,
Games Workshop
because
tiering or.
you're coming to it having read the rule set. You ask for feedback afterwards, and people say, "Oh, that was a bit much," or "This was a bit." But generally, you know what you're getting into when you come to it. So, ground's got mighty below +2. The ground's got mighty below +2.
And where does the inspiration for the rule sets come from? Is it just literally just the craziest thing you can think of, or
It's mostly from the fluff in the rule books, particularly the old CRP rule book, the Ice Pelt Hammer Blow one, had all the fluff in, and all the team descriptions had fun facts about that race or that team. So for goblins, for example, it said goblins like wearing silly hats and singing lewd songs. So in my mind, brilliant. We all wear silly hats.
but
So on
no
and so on.
extra points for a lewd song?
No, not this time. Maybe
How
next
much
time.
when you're organising that sort of thing? How much does actually
Yeah.
tiering the races bother you? Is it a big factor? Because I mean, obviously some fun
I
things are
do.
going to balance or unbalance or whatever. Is it?
I do try and still tier, as in similar to Games Workshop's tiering. Obviously, orcs aren't tier 2; they're tier 1. I do. I tier how many star player points you get for skills. I do it rather than having 6 skills, you might have 40 star player points. So you can give someone 2 skills, but it's cost you more each time.
Yeah.
And yeah, people try and break it. They can. Most people are having fun.
And do people turn up having? I mean, is the understanding of the rule set? Is it there? Do you get a crowd that come along knowing and they've built
Most of
right,
the
or do you
time,
have to really check those rosters?
no. Most of the time, it's absolutely fine. Occasionally, afterwards, people go, "That was just too much going on." You had uh, an ogre invading the pit. You had exploding balls. You had a weird weather table. You had a weird kickoff table. Too much crazy to keep track of in a 2.5 hour game or 2 hours. So I do have to rein in.
Yeah. Okay. What's the biggest regret? Have you tried Giants, for example? I'd
Yeah,
love to hear some tell of Giants.
Giants are awesome. Went to a tournament in Bromley where every team got a giant.
Right.
It's a big roadblock in the middle of the pitch. They can't move around very much because they're so big.
They're too big to
But
move. Yes. And they have a facing,
essentially,
don't they?
they have a facing. So essentially, they take up 4 squares like the old big guys used to. The rear 4 squares behind them, they have no tackle zone in.
Right.
Got Mighty Below +2, and it makes things go away quite quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we've learned in this rule set, +2, it tends to do that, doesn't it?
That's a good tournament, that one. I got to the top table and drew against orcs. And essentially, because I took ogres with the giant, I had lots of Mighty Blow. Couldn't hurt the orcs, and he couldn't hurt me either. So essentially, it was a draw on the top table. There we are.
And yep, sometimes the draw just isn't good enough, is it? It drops you to
Smart
third or
indeed.
something, and table 2 goes
Absolutely.
past you, and the person that was already ahead stays ahead, of course.
And
What's your biggest regret? You said there's sometimes, the rule sets, people go, oh, hang on, that's a bit far. What have you brought in that you think, yeah, I perhaps wouldn't do that? What's too far?
The ground having Mighty Blow, probably. In an ogre-themed tournament, they're playing on top of a mountain. They're playing on a solid rock. If you're playing with a team with Mighty Blow, so essentially now all of your ogres or minotaurs or whatever have now got Mighty Blow +2, essentially.
Right.
It swings the balance a bit too far.
That's interesting because quite a lot of kick-off tables for some of the other rule sets and some of the other pitches, if you use the pitch rule sets, do bring in an extra hard ground that adds +1 to it. And of course, you just allowed me to seamlessly segue into something we were talking about a little bit before the show opened, which is you're going to run a gutter bowl, aren't you?
Yes,
That's
tomorrow.
going to be fun. But doesn't that have exactly that +1 when you hit the ground?
Yes, but that's fine. Essentially, it's two teams of people pouring out of a pub, pissed up, and pretending to play Blood Bowl. If you and I went down to the local park and pretended we're playing Arsenal versus Spurs or something, it wouldn't be very good. It's exactly the same thing.
There'd be violence.
It would be violence, yeah, but Gutter Bowl is exactly that. It's two teams of punk who think they can play the sport but can't. If they fall over, they get more likely to get hurt.
Now, I want to do a show holding the NAF's feet to the fire a tiny bit, as well as looking into their storied history and the great services they also do. But I believe they said, the 8-week rule is in place. Now, I don't know what the 8-week rule is, but I'm guessing they didn't want anyone to run Gutter Bowl for 8 weeks whilst they thought about it or something.
Well,
does that bother you?
Because as soon as Games Workshop announced they were releasing it, we put in the tournament to the NAF saying we're going to run this. We put it in a Street Bowl, which was one of the NAF variants.
Yep.
And then as soon as Gutter Bowl was accepted by the NAF, said, can we just change that one from a Street Bowl to a Gutter Bowl? Yeah, no problem.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And have you found that before? Is there a bit of rule set the NAF have gone, of course you can, but it's not Blood Bowl?
Yeah, every team getting a free ogre said we could do it, of course, and you can have NAF. It'll be a NAF sanctioned tournament, but it'll count as a specialist tournament rather than a regular Blood Bowl tournament.
Did that bother you or anyone else?
Why does it matter? Okay, some people care about their NAF ranking. Does it really matter?
Some people don't know they've got a NAF ranking. Exactly. I suspect quite a lot of people.
I enjoy competitive Blood Bowl. It's the NAF Championships. I go to the UKTC. Generally finish in the top quarter-ish. Which is okay. Happy with that.
So you can still be competitive and have fun. Yeah. That's a possibility, isn't it?
Of course it is.
How do you marry those two concepts?
Do you accept you're playing a ridiculous game?
Absolutely.
And essentially, you're just toy soldiers with goblins and orcs and whatever else.
Well, I was going to throw this around later, but it's worth just maybe dropping now on that note. K-Fogged, as he's sometimes known, or my friend Core, I was talking to him about this episode, and he said I should have invited him on. And I said, look, the last thing you ever do is have fun playing Blood Bowl. I mean, you maybe laugh at what the other people are doing against you. I've seen you find that very funny. But people don't think of you as there's a man who's really enjoying it. And of course he said to me, oh, David, and then chuckled at how stupid I was, which he does all the time, because compared to him, we're all stupid. And he pointed out that to him, he thinks actually there's some people who he knows are trying really hard to move up the ranking. And he thinks what they're missing is they've stopped having fun. And he said if you're not enjoying that, if that's not coming to you, then actually it really limits some of your possibilities. So I want to throw that out. Is actually having fun. Can it be part of trying hard? Are they mutually exclusive or not? Am I setting up a false dichotomy here? Glow, you were talking about having fun and doing crazy things. You famously, of course, at Thrud, run the table where 4 people play Dock Bowl, or I mean, I know what the kids call docking.
Right.
Presumably it's not that.
Okay, so the first 5 rounds are now Dimmerip, which is basically a dungeon delve Blood Bowl game.
Okay.
So you fight your way. My background originally was AD&D, so I was asked to rewrite the rules for Dimmerip a couple of years ago, prior to Thrud. So basically, of course, I wrote it as a D&D module. So the adventurers come in, they fight their way down to the bottom, they rescue the princess, or in this case, a ball, and then they fight their way out again. Okay? So we play that, and the bottom 4 coaches in every round are invited to play Dimmerip instead of playing. So it's a variant. It's not recognised by the NAF or anybody else, but it is a variant. So they're invited to play that. And it's a little bit of light relief. And I've only ever had one guy refuse to play it, and he refused to play 3 times. And that was because he was in for most casualties. So he was losing his games, but he was smashing his opponents.
Right.
So I'm not going to name him because Beard from Tier 3 podcast will get upset if I do. But yeah, he refused to play on 3 occasions. And to be honest, I don't blame him. He was up for most. He said, look, and he was perfectly fine. He said, look, mate, I'd love to come. I said, that's all right, mate.
I'd love to come have fun with you, but I'm busy being competitive.
There's another 125 people in this room, and to be fair, another 100 of those would come and play. And to be fair, 100 of them would have done. Yeah, I've never had a shortage of it. So yeah, it is a bit of fun. It's you come in, like I say, you fight your way to the bottom. There are Tomb Guardians, of course, because all dungeons have to have monsters. So you have to fight your way past the Tomb Guardians. There's exploding chests. You know, I'm nothing if I don't plagiarise. So you find the ball, but then you have to leave, but you can't leave through the door that you entered. You have to leave through somebody else's door.
Okay.
You can't go in through. It's the same as most AD&D.
So you're probably going to have to get past their team to do that.
So yeah, they've got to guard their door while looking for the ball. You've got to try and find your way out. And we use a system which somebody told me when I said to them, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do." They went, "Oh yeah, that's straight from," and named another game system. Is it Flintlock or something like that? Where I have a bag with markers in. So you pull a marker in and it'll be the green player. So the green player gets to move. Now the next marker might be the green Tomb Guardian. Or it might be the red Tomb Guardian. Or it might be the red player. So you take these markers out and you lay them down so you can see who's been. So you can sort of structure your turn a little bit.
Right.
But then, of course, at the end of the turn, all 8 markers go back in. The bag gets checked up and then we start again. So you might get 2 turns in a row. There might be 8 or 9 turns before you get another turn. And as I say, it is basically, and we say to guys, look, this is for fun. And if we 4 were playing it, the way it would work is, let's say you escape with the ball and you go out through Eldritch Fox's door. Your class has beaten him 1-0, and me and your other fella there, Stig, Hardcore Stig, a class does drawing 0-0, and casualties count towards your tournament scoring. Because at Thrud, we only use tiebreakers at the end of the tournament, so you know it doesn't make a difference round by round what your casualty score is.
Absolutely.
Or your touchdown.
Okay, don't worry, Stig. I have got the ability to mute the mic if needs be, and I will be bringing you in imminently. I promise.
Oh, you said 3 times the time I've had. Seriously.
3 times as Anderson, though.
Glow, of course, very welcome back on the show. Lovely to have you here. Now, when I asked you on, you said, "Of course I should come on. I'm fun." Now,
Yes,
like a potential partner, that the first thing they say to you is, "You'll love me. I'm kooky." I instantly thought,
I'm the little bit, but yeah.
this is a red flag. Someone that describes themselves as fun. So you're fun. How are you fun, Glow? Outside of running the fun part of Thrud Bowl, where people compete to be the worst player possible so they get a chance to have fun on your game.
Well, I'd say 176 games of competitive Goblin play in NAF ranked tournaments probably qualifies me fun rather than your die hard, try hard. And looping around to something you said earlier about is, can you have fun and get better? I honestly believe you can. Many, many years ago when I first started, my first tournament was 97. A lot of people tell you that's not right because according to the NAF, it was 2007. I played tournaments pre-NAF. Yeah, 97, grand tournament. Yes, yeah. Not according to some people. But so about 2010, I was okay. I was doing okay. I was 10th or 12th in the country with Dark Elves. I was getting good results. I was finishing third, finishing fourth a lot of the time, hence the Glowworm Award. When you can't win a tournament, you just create an award that you can win and then win it. And then I didn't win it for years. And I went to a tournament with Undead, which at the time were, as they still are to some extent now, a powerhouse of a team. Yes. You're expected to, yeah. Went, and I literally got my arse handed to me. I won the first game, something like 5-1 against Ogres, and I thought, brilliant, I'm going to win the whole thing here. Yeah, this is tied on. And I got what I call dice bias. I thought, yep, no problem. All it doesn't matter what I do. And the next 4 games, I got absolutely destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. The dice hated me. My own models tripped up when I weren't even touching them. You know, it was just a nightmare. I won the last game against a guy who honestly wasn't bothered. He got to the 8 where his first tournament. It was game 6. He was sat with his arm over the back of the chair watching the TV rather than playing. And I got in the car and I moaned. It was the precursor for the Welsh Open. It was called the Casneward Cup, and it was running a pub called the Dodger in Cwmbran, which is quite a rough pub, to be fair.
Okay.
And we were driving back home an hour to Wiltshire, and I was moaning about this. Oh, I should have, and I did it. And I had this real sense of entitlement. I know it did, and this is not the guy you know now, and this is why. I had this real sense of entitlement. And I had a guy in the car called Gazza. He's long gone from the scene now. He used to play Ogres all the time, and his exact philosophy was go to a tournament, lose your first game, then you can just have 5 games of fun. The pressure's off if you lose your first game. Yeah,
yeah, that's true to some degree.
Yeah, yeah. And he was saying to me, he said, "Oh, blah blah blah. You know what your problem is? You feel that you should have got something." I'm like, "You're damn right, I should have got something. I was playing Undead, and I'm a good player. You're damn right, I should have got something." And he said, "You can't win anything. You couldn't even win a Stunty Cup." And I went, "I could win a Stunty Cup." And he went, "No, you couldn't." I went, "I could win a Stunty Cup." And he went, "No, you couldn't. You don't even play Stunties." I said, "Right, I'll play Stunties for the whole year, with the exception of the World Cup, which was 2011 Amsterdam. I'd already decided I was playing Dark Elves there. I said, with the exception of the World Cup, I'll play Stunties the whole year." And we're 12 years later, 170 odd games with them later. And when I step away from Stunties, I've won a couple of NAF tournaments. And I genuinely believe that is because when you play Stunties, if you're trying to play, you can enjoy them, they're fun. You expect to lose. If you get a draw, it's a win. But also it teaches you a lot. It teaches you, and one of the great things about Blood Bowl is you have to learn to lose before you can learn to win. If you can't lose at Blood Bowl, then you're never going to win. No matter how good you are never going to win.
That was a quote from you already dropped in the chat, so you are repeating yourself, by Day Day, who said that's the greatest thing you ever taught him. And Day Day certainly learned to lose, and has recently, at the Bang Average Chicken Bell 2, learned to win, so congratulations, Day Day. Said it at the time. Fine young man and a fine young coach. I'm not surprised to see you up at the top of the rankings on a tournament, and I hope we'll see you up there again.
I expect great things from him at Thrud this year as well.
I also agree that goblins, I play a lot of goblins, as is known but disputed by the Yudlugger, and I found the same. Not only do I find them really fun to play, and it takes a lot of the pressure off, but you learn loads, so you can't get your positioning wrong. You have to know the go moment. You have to know when actually that drives over. You may have those many pieces left, but it's over, or hang on,
now
you've
it's
got
time
a few
to
pieces
run
left, but it isn't over. And you really need to know those as goblins, or you're going to get wiped off the field.
Get your timing right. This is the time where I mark everybody up and I commit.
Yeah.
Or this is the time that I move everybody off to the side of the pitch and I let you go. Or this is the time that I put a cloud defence in.
I'm going to lose 4 goblins this turn, but it's going to win me the game. So this is the turn. But if I'd done it last term, I'd just have lost 4 goblins. So
that's the great joy about tournament play. Turn 6, turn 7, turn 8 of the second half, you can throw your goblins into the meat grinder because they're coming back the next game anyway.
Absolutely.
They're absolutely fine. You know what I mean? League play slightly different. I find goblins much more challenging in a league environment than I do in a tournament environment because you've got to try and keep them alive. And because you've got to try and get some skills, whereas you can't just go, oh, look, I'll just give my troll this because I've got this. But no, I certainly believe that if you play a fun team and you learn how to lose, so the pressure's off. The pressure's off. And as I say, I've been to NAF tournaments and I've won NAF tournaments. I've got NAF shields downstairs, 2 different races as well. So it's not one trick pony. I'm a 2-trick pony. But yeah, I honestly believe that you can do both. And anybody that's played me, and I'm sure there are people in the chat now hovering over their keyboards, my first question at the end of the game is, did you enjoy that? That's more important to me. Not well done, you won 2-0, or I'm sorry, I diced you and won 1-0. Did you enjoy that? Because it's a game, and the whole concept of a game is to have fun. And if you're not having fun, put it away and go and play chess.
But I mean, the answer is, if I've won, I've enjoyed myself, and if I haven't, I haven't, isn't it? Isn't that clear and obvious?
Well, maybe it is to you. Maybe it is to you.
I am playing devil's avocado. I have enjoyed some draws.
Yeah, I can name 2 or 3 games, 2 or 3 outstanding games. In my top 5 games, one is at a 3-all draw against halflings, and one is getting pitch cleared by dwarves in the second half, and then getting pitch cleared by the same dwarves. In the first half, and then getting pitch cleared by in the second half by the same team. I was pitch cleared twice by the same player with the same team in the same game. And in the second half, I was actually cheering for. I was still playing. I was still trying to dodge away, still trying to protect my guys. Yeah, but it became obvious by about turn 4 or 5 that with 2 goblins and a troll left on the pitch against a fully functioning dwarf team, this is going to go nowhere quick. And at that point, I started cheering for my opponent. And to be fair, he did it, and kudos to him for that. And we enjoyed it. We had a laugh, and he bought me a pint. So, yeah, free pint.
Because it gets asked of me a lot. People often ask about the Chalice final where I played Andy Davo, and he won his first Chalice in Blood Bowl 2. I think because he ruthlessly promotes it on YouTube. And so lots of people seem to have seen it, so it gets mentioned to me quite a lot. People ask, did I enjoy it? And so I've had a lot of chance to think about that particular game and whether I enjoyed it. And the answer is yes, I did. I enjoyed playing Andy a lot. He's a great competitor and a great coach, and I enjoyed playing the game. I enjoyed the whole game, including overtime. I didn't enjoy how it ended, of course. I would rather it ended differently. And it's those ones that stick with me. It's never the wins, is it? It's the losses that stick with you. Ever the bridesmaid. But I still enjoyed the game. I still wouldn't trade that experience, except for the same experience with me winning it. And it's the same as this weekend, where I lost the tournament on a 3-up. I still had to get to that point in the tournament, and I enjoyed that.
But you don't remember getting to that point. You remember failing the 3-up.
No, but I know it's there somewhere, Glow. I know it all happened. There must have been good luck moments where I didn't deserve what happened.
There absolutely was, and I weren't even there, and I can tell you for a fact there absolutely was. And there were times when you just looked at your opponent and thought that should never have worked out the way that it has, but I'll take it. So like I say, the end of the day, the games that I find most frustrating are the games where I do something that I know is wrong, and that ruins it for me. Because now my opponent's just got to walk over, and now it's not. And no matter how many times when people can sit there and I know you're a dwarf coach, I'm not going to fall down that road.
How dare you? I'm an elf coach.
The amount of people that go, I got it easy. It's a walkover, and that's not fun for anybody. No. It's not fun for anybody. I'd rather lose a close game than win one where I'm just rolling 5s and 6s and he's rolling 1s and 2s. We
are literally 30 minutes in, and we've yet to hear a sound from my lovely third guest. So I do have to talk to him now, Glow. We will come back to you in a minute. Stig, hello. Welcome to One World, One Blood Bowl. Lovely to have you here.
Yeah, quite happily been entertained by the other two, so no rush.
You are hardcore, Stig, aren't you?
Yes.
Because I've had Stig on, so you are. I almost called you Stig too, but of course you are hardcore, Stig.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, because everyone calls me Stig, I have repeatedly threatened to find him and play him for the name if he's available at any tournament.
And what if it's a draw? Do you both just go by Wendy from then on or something? Is that?
I think he'd just go by there, and I'll just go by hardcore at that point, and we'll find another Stig somewhere, third one.
Now, it may seem crazy to some people that I've invited you on, but I have, because obviously I hear you are part of the Geordie World Cup bit, so let's just briefly touch base with that. Is it still going on since Pipey announced it on this very show?
It is, and he threw mine and Walker's name out there into the wild, which I don't think either of us was expecting, but we didn't mind. What has been nice, there's a few people from the community reached out to us as well and said, if you need a hand, we're up for it. As it stands right now, we're going to go to the World Cup, and I think at least half of the idea is to speak to those guys afterwards and go, give us all the reasons we shouldn't do it. We're fully understanding that this is a huge, huge undertaking. But fingers crossed, we would like to get it back into the country because, let's be honest here, we do have a massive scene. We do have the NAF World Cup, the NAF Tournament Championship. We have UKTC. We have the Welsh Open. There's big events over here, and there's definitely a passion for it. So, yeah, why not get you up north?
And of course, you could celebrate and embolden the Geordie people and the Geordie nation with Newcastle as its rightful centre. You could be that figurehead for the Geordies. That must make you so proud to your very core, Stig.
Yes. It's right the way to my Geordie core that when I took black and white stripe with little blue darties to the Invitational, a little bit of me died inside every time because I might be from the other river.
You are, of course, a Mackham, aren't you?
I'm born and bred.
And
Shirt wearing and season ticket holder.
I may be one of the few people. I did a lot of work in both Sunderland and Newcastle, and I'm a big fan of both towns. Whereas Middlesbrough, I have no reason why it exists. I can't name you a reason that town still has people in it.
I've lived in Middlesbrough as well, and I've got some friends there, but I'm never living there again.
It's a hole. I'm sorry, it's a hole. I've got friends there. I wish they'd leave. It's a hole.
There's no weather in Middlesbrough. That was the thing I found disturbing.
And you've got Durham, beautiful. You've got Newcastle,
Yep.
Sunderland, vibrant, exciting cities. Or you've got a chemical smog that looks like the Coronation Street intro from the 1980s. I mean, why choose that, really?
Yeah,
Ask more if you're in Habitat. Of course, if you're born in Middlesbrough and you're really cross that I think it's horrible, I'm just sorry for you. It's not hate, it's pity. It's just pity. I've invited you on not to talk about the World Cup, where I imagine we will get people sweating and trying hard. Although, I have to say, the team I'm going with, we've just decided we all just want to go and have fun and experience it. We're not trying to be super competitive. We're not trying to be stupid. But we're just going to go and have some fun for 3 days rolling dice. So presumably you see the World Cup as a big fun event, or is it super competitive in your head?
Yeah, basically the team I'm going with, we've got a couple of stunty teams that are in there for a laugh. I'm taking Necro just because I just wanted to get a Necro team. I'm in no illusions that our team's going to win it or be in anywhere near the top. So, and I think it's been mentioned already, if you're not going to win it, then the only reason you've got to be going to a tournament is for the pleasure of it and for the enjoyment. So you've got to go there and just relax. You're not going to win every game. You're not even going to have a great game. There'll be some games you want to flip that table, but you just don't take it seriously because unless you're sitting in that top 5%, this has got to be about just the pleasure of it. You work however many days a week, and this is your relaxation. The fact that you do it over a table with some models, it's the same as somebody else going to, they play tennis or golf or whatever else. This is how you wind down and how you enjoy yourself.
Yes, I mean, I've always said, it's a joke I've told on this show before that I think big tournaments should be sponsored by the NHS. Most of us in that room need to get out of the house for the weekend. It's done us all the power of good just to not be on the same sofa or whatever. And increasingly I realise the older I get, the less I'm kidding about that. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, Stig, been longing to do so for a while. This year at the UKTC, I played you, and you gave me a lovely present, which is now proudly in my Blood Bowl drawer, which is just down here to my side. So I've grabbed it. That's you, sir, isn't it? Let me see if I can get it into focus. There we are. That is the hardcore Stig as he sat opposite me at the UKTC. He did look like that quite briefly in the second half, where I briefly had 2 dice's turns of luck. Thinking back on that game, we had a draw. So as I sat down, I'll confess my team sort of patted me on the back, looked at the big man in the wrestler's outfit, and said, "We're banking on you for a point here, Dave." Early in the first half, he managed to break through. He brought a team. Not only was he dressed as a wrestler, his entire team, the only skill he'd taken on them was wrestle, which he'd picked Imperial Nobility, which start with 4 wrestle. So once he added wrestle onto everything else, I think there was only 1 or 2 pieces. I think his blitzers were blodge.
Yeah.
But everything else was wrestle. And you sort of look at that and you think, well, that's not going to be difficult then, is it? This is someone who's brought terrible skills and is dressed as a wrestler. And I've been asking myself ever since, in the first half, you broke through my defences, I had the ball, and I was on high elf, so I could dodge away on a 2+. And normally I'd have probably brought someone back to cover the fail. And I genuinely think I thought, it'll be alright, he's a team that's got all wrestle. If it fails, I'll be able to sort that out. And of course, I snaked the dodge off. and you picked the ball up and scored. And I spent the rest of the game fighting tooth and nail with everything I could coach to get it to the point where we drew at the end. And I was very, very lucky to get that draw. Did I underestimate you, do you think? Because you were there to have fun.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I was there to have fun. I was still hoping to get, I think the record I always look for is two. If I feel like I've broken even, I'm happy. Because the other thing as well, no matter how much fun I want to be, it's kind of like Glowworm says, you don't want to roll over game, that's not fun.
Yeah.
So you're still there to be competitive. You're there to give somebody a game. I think that what really frustrated me...
We just lost your mic there. What really frustrated people was, and then we lost it.
No,
it's like the life of Brian.
What really frustrated me was that they were so boring to play with.
Right.
I mean, Ability's a negative team.
Oh, he's gone.
You've gone again, Stig, I'm afraid. We lost you after Ability is a negative team. They are. I mean, they're just hateful. But against something that can move around like elves, there should be also no problem. Against something like dwarves or orcs, you can really, as long as you don't get knocked off the pitch, you can just stop them dead. And then they really have a struggle as to what the hell they're going to do about it. So you didn't enjoy playing them?
I enjoyed the games. The chat, I just hated the team. They're in a box with Old World Alliance now to never be seen again.
Ooh.
Does that mean it's a one and done with the wrestler outfit?
That outfit's several years old, actually. I've worn it at several other events. So,
Okay. We're talking Blood Bowl events, or is there a sort of...
No, it's been a music festival.
Been
to... none of those events. I don't wear that mask. Different one for that.
Dogging.
Dogging,
yes,
you don't need a
I
mask.
was sort of subtly hinting, but let's just say it out loud. Why not, eh? Do you go to kinky sex parties dressed as a wrestler? Stig, is that what you're doing?
No. Purely dressed as a maid for those parties.
Good. Clarity, it's important, Glow.
True.
Yeah, it's that. I think that's one of the other things as well. There's some teams that you play in Blood Bowl that you're never going to enjoy playing with. But for example, I'm running for the 29, so I know I have to turn up with them. And again, it's one of them things of I've got two options. I can either grind through those teams for a tournament and just hate them, or I can there and try and enjoy the game. Chat to the opponent, throw a few dice I wouldn't normally, try some stupid things. Whatever it happens to be, just relax and embrace the fact that otherwise this is going to be soul crushing.
No, I mean, it was quite a tough UKTC for me. I ended up with, I think, 1 win, 4 draws, a loss or something like that. And yet, the draw against you, I think, was the most fun game I had. I thought we actually had quite a laugh during the game, which was really noticeable to me. There was a really good atmosphere to it, despite it being a very try-hardy game to try and get that back from the era earlier. I really enjoyed it. Did you find, again, that the whole visible, I'm dressed as a wrestler, I've brought a wrestling team, did it provoke a good response in the people you're facing? Was it?
It did. It was almost like everyone comes down with a bit of a laugh as you first turn up. And obviously, I think you got some sweets in that as well. So, you've made a nice right from the off. But it's that thing as well that I think everybody knew I wasn't taking it that seriously. So if things went well, they weren't upset with it. If I've diced them in some way, they weren't upset with it because they knew it was going to come back round. And at the same point, if things were going badly for me, I didn't get down on it. They'd have laugh, they'd enjoy it.
Yeah, so it's sorry, we lost you a tiny bit there as well. So again, it's that armour of I'm having fun here. So even if it's not going well, I'm still having a laugh. I've lent into a meme for the whole weekend. People enjoy playing me. What a great experience. Making some tough roles easier to deal with, do you think?
And because again, I'm not sitting there going, "Oh, I'm top table, I'm trying to win this." So I don't care if I get diced every now and then. If I had that 1 in 9 twice in a row, who cares? I'm still there, still enjoying myself, still got a beer in hand, still sitting across somebody, having a chat and a laugh. And I've got my team there as well, who are all in the same boat. And I'm sure you saw we were up and down, having a bit chat and griefing each other.
Yeah.
That's part of what is me. It's that's why I like UKTC especially. It's a team tournament, so you're not suffering alone if you like.
Yeah, it's interesting, the UKTC. I mean, in some ways, it's kind of like the Ryder Cup, in that you see these people that are, these fierce fighting individuals most of the time come together and actually joy in having a team around them and being on someone else's side and caring about someone else other than themselves. And then down the other end of the room, you've got people that are just literally there having a laugh with their mates. But the UKTC is, even the mates ones, they tend to play some damned fine Blood Bowl. People that turn up to the UKTC, there's very, very few mugs there. Do we think having fun then can be part of being competitive, or is it a separate issue? Are they linked?
Of course they're linked, because you're keeping score.
Yeah.
We all want to win. We want to sit down and come away as a winner, because it's a nice feeling, but it's not the most important thing of the game. You have to have that balance. I want to win, but I also want to have a nice experience with the person sat opposite me. I want to enjoy the game, enjoy the silliness of the game, where a goblin dodges into a cage, 2 dice uphill toward us, a double power dead. Wonderful. Happens to me, or I do it. Wonderful. As those things are what make the game come to life.
And looking for those moments, those enjoyable moments, rather than the winner moments. I mean, they will usually get you the win as well, but there's obviously a...
Yes, of course, and you have to enjoy it when it happens to you as much as when you do it. That is very important.
Yeah.
You have to accept that it's a bloody stupid game. And at some point, someone's going to go, yeah, the chance of this working about 2.5%, never mind, bosh, 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 done. And they do it. And play, it's... get upset about it. You've got to laugh and enjoy it, haven't you?
If you can't laugh when a 9.5% play goes against you and somebody wins a chalice, then why are you even playing Blood Bowl?
Indeed.
I can't ever remember an example of that, to be fair. So,
I just randomly picked just the sort of thing that might happen, that might tilt some people.
I think the great thing in the UK as well, and I'm pretty sure this extends to other countries, is that when you look at tournaments, you get a feel for if they're going to be the ultra competitive, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Some tournaments are just more competitive than others. UKTC being a prime example, like you say, mugs don't turn up. I turned up at the UKTC, so I'm the exception that proves the rule. But mugs don't turn up.
You just finished telling us how wonderful you are at Blood Bowl when you try.
I can be when I try. But you look at the rule set, and you look at Eldritch Fox's rule set, and you'll think, well, this is going to be a fun tournament. I'm not saying that guys aren't going to go and they're not going to compete and they're always going to try and do the best. We all do, but they're going to do it in a slightly different way. Yeah, I run Thrud Bowl, which we're trying to find a nice common ground between being competitive and being fun. And I think we're sort of getting there. We're not quite there yet, but we're sort of getting there. I also run a one-dayer where there's no weather. And the premise was I played in the tournament, and myself and another guy were the only 2 stunty teams there. And in the last round, we actually drew against each other for the Stunty Cup. And we were playing in a blizzard, and he was playing halflings. It absolutely ruined his game. He couldn't do anything. Every time he went for a go for it, he fell over and his halfling died. And by the...
I'd find that lots of fun.
Well, by the end of turn 3 or turn 4, I was 2-0 up. And it ruined the game for both of us. I didn't enjoy it. It ruined the game for both of us. So when I decided to run my own tournament, my own one day, I said, right, we're playing indoors. We're playing in the Glow Dome because, modesty will prevail. So if you roll, and what I did is I went through the old special play cards and pulled out loads of 50k cards and made lots of little photocopies of them. Laminated them, and if you started the game in perfect weather, you didn't roll for weather, but if at any point you rolled what used to be the old 7 on the weather table, changing weather, which I now believe is an 8, you both rolled a d6 and add your fame, and the one who rolled highest got a random 50k card, and it could be anything. It could be custard pie, it was love potion, it was loads of these little random, and I ran that for 3 or 4 years, and I only had one guy say that ruined my game. That card ruined my game. And it was 20 minutes into the last game, and he came up and he said, I said, oh, what are you doing? He said, oh, we've finished. We've decided to call it a draw. He drew a card that meant he could surf one of my ball centaurs, and it ruined my game, so I'm not playing anymore. And I'm like, right, okay, fine. Thank you very much for your time. You've already paid your money. You're not getting it back, sort of thing. I spoke to him later, and he said, yeah, okay, I did throw my teddy out the cot a little bit. I'm not going to name the man, and I'm not going to name him this time. I did throw my teddy out the cot a little bit, and I said, that's fine. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that in that one circumstance, it might not have been the best thing that could have happened. But you could have also said, we're on table 1, Ollie, yeah? Let's forget about these cards, and we'll just play a normal game of Blood Bowl. And no organiser is ever going to say to you that's not, they might say that's not in the spirit of the game, but I don't think any organiser that's organised a fun tournament is ever going to say to you, I don't think that's fair, or you shouldn't be doing that.
I mean, I think Gangster's got a lot better since then. I don't think it would happen just like that now.
Gangster would never
talking about Thrud Bowl, how do you take this then? I was at the tournament yesterday, sitting outside afterwards, just having a beer with some of the lads that were there before we all dissipated to the various corners of London, this great metropolitan city that we live in. And the subject of the UKTC cropped up, and we were talking about it and how it's moved from April to the summer and where people are planning to go. I would hope to, but until I know what my family's holiday is next year, I mean, a summer UKTC is very difficult to plan for, same with Thrud Bowl. And then someone said, oh yes, they're on the same weekend, aren't they? No. And of course they were for about 3 weeks, but now the UKTC has moved to later in the summer.
Yeah.
And then someone sat there, and I won't say who, but a very good looking man with a beard, said, of course they're not really the same people that go to Thrud Bowl and the UKTC. I mean, the UKTC is much more your tryhards, and Thrud Bowl's much more for fun. I don't think there's a lot of crossover. And then we angrily debated that for a few minutes.
I think there's probably 20 or 30 people that would cross over. And to be fair, I think those 20 or 30 people, if given to make the hard choice, would choose the UKTC. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. Yourself, K-Fog, Andy Davo, these are all people that have come to country. I mean, Andy Davo and K-Fog came when they were number 1 and number 2 in the world. They both turned up at Thrud Bowl on you. Yourself, you're a good player. We get lots of.
I'm massively overrated. Is it true to say? Is it fair to say that there is an ethos behind Thrud that is more about let's play some Blood Bowl where we all have a lot of fun, raise money for charity, get together? Whereas the UKTC is let's be a really competitive Blood Bowl tournament and hopefully everyone will come and have fun.
I will never take credit for this statement, but I wish I'd have said it. Somebody said Thrud Bowl is the Glastonbury of Blood Bowl. And I thought, that's it. You turn up on the Friday night, the camping's free, we have a sevens event on the Friday night, or most of us sit around shooting the breeze, and we may have a tipple or two. Then we play on the Saturday. The auction's a massive thing, as I'm sure you're aware. We've got the online auction running now at www.thrudball.com, which I'd like you to put in the show notes. But we run it. And as I say, because Brett, is it Brendan that runs UKTC? Pipey? Yeah, he came to us and said, look, we might have a problem next year, guys. The university has said this is the only weekend they can offer us, and that's Thrud Bowl weekend. And we as a committee sat down and we said, right, what are we going to do? And we said, well, okay, we wait. That's the first thing we do. We wait and we find out if there is definitely going to be a conflict. To be fair, I will say this now as one of the co-organisers for this year. We would have looked at moving Thrud Bowl. We would have looked at pushing it back a week and selling it as international coaches come over for the UKTC, spend a week in the UK, and then come to Thrud Bowl before you go.
Come and sit in a field in Swindon.
Yeah, why not? I can think of no better field to sit in. But yeah, there is a.
Had a massive imagination failure there, Glowworm, unfortunately.
No, I don't think so. I think it'd work a treat. But
and it is very like Glastonbury. If you stay long enough, then some point on the Sunday, a legend is going to just scream the house down.
Yeah, there is probably a crossover of 20 or 30 coaches, maybe out of the 130 we've had. But to be fair, if we ran it the same weekend, and I'm going to say this, and this sounds really ballsy, I'll apologise. Well, I won't. We sold out in 3.5 hours. If we ran it the same weekend as UKTC, we would still sell 130 tickets, which is our allocation. We may not do it in 3.5 hours, but we would still sell out.
Only Swindon had bigger fields. Eldritch, there's something I wanted to come back on you about. Talking about people trying hard at these fun events, or having fun whilst trying hard, and them not being actually that different. Are there people whose behaviour is very different at some of your more fun events than it is, if you have a more try-hard rule set? Do you sometimes do a more straight try-hardy rule set? Do people behave differently?
Do they behave differently? The behaviour is the same. I generally run 2 or 3 tournaments a year, which 2 are wacky and one's a bit more straight-laced, but there's enough straight-laced tournaments in the UK. You need the wacky ones as well, A few people locally who are quite try-hard. They will run teams in the league, which they are far too good with, against new coaches because they want to win the league. It's okay. what they want to do, but it's not fun for them or fun for their opponent. They're winning 5-0, 6-0. So they do bring that a little bit to the tournament scene. Had one tantrum to deal with once. It doesn't matter, does it? Really? Everyone else is having.
Out of how many?
Yeah, I think if someone's going to throw a
You
tantrum,
naming
it's
no
just
names.
going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you just have to say, look, 20 people here, we're all having fun. And sit down, have a cigarette, whatever you need to do for 5-10 minutes, come back, we'll crack on with it. Okay.
I think
Didn't affect it.
I think you're right as well. That I think you say there's a couple of wacky tournaments because everything's serious. I think that's great because you look at, for example, this year, it's very difficult to find a tournament that isn't the World Cup pack.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like everyone's trying hard for the World Cup for a year beforehand.
Why?
And that takes a little bit of the fun out of
Not
it.
that
Exactly.
different. It's still Blood Bowl. You're still playing Undead or Orcs or Skaven or whatever.
Yeah.
Because as Stig
So
said,
you
and
need
I'm
to
the same,
practice that team 20 times, 30 times.
surely,
before you
even
go
if you're
to
trying to
World
have fun,
Yeah.
you also want to come away with 50% or higher, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's always my number one goal, is if I can come away, 222 or 303, then that's okay. I'm at least even on the weekend. And when I play that game that gets me to the point where I can't be less than even, I'm so chuffed.
Yeah.
So isn't everyone trying to just at least be competent whilst having fun? Isn't that important to the fun aspect? No, Glow.
No, I think
No.
there's
My
a mixture. Go for it, Glow. Sorry.
My 3 World Cups, I went 3-3-3 with Dark Elves. I've never even come close to that with Goblins in the next 2 World Cups, and I regret the only team I ever regret taking to a World Cup is Dark Elves.
I'm taking Dark Elves.
I have much more enjoyed my time taking Goblins to a World Cup. And my advice to anybody that's going to the World Cup, and I know roster things in, unless you genuinely believe that you are in the top 5%, you are going to have 3 days. And game 3 is a grind, Take something you enjoy playing rather than something you think you might be able to be really ultra competitive. Unless you're 100% sure you're really comfortable with the team and you know you're going to be competitive, take something, because by game 3, by day 3, even I'm starting game 6, game 7, you're starting to think, if I never see these guys again, I'm just going to put them away when we get back, and they're going in the box for 6 months. Now I'm going to play anything that's not these. Yeah.
I think it's August 13th. I've got a special on the World Cup coming up, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But day 3, the smell, is it fearsome? Is it really to be feared?
Well, I'm a larger individual, but I've ordered 6 shirts for the World Cup. Yeah. So, and the other thing is, take plenty of shirts because it's a massive trading post. I've got 30 Blood Bowl shirts, and about 5 of them have got glowworm on them. The rest have got House Blackfire or...
I don't really do merch, he said, stretching and showing off the One World, One Blood Bowl T-shirt. Which I had specially made. I genuinely don't do merch, so there wouldn't be a market for it.
I've been to tournaments where you've gone into the bathroom between games and they've left about 4 or 5 bottles of deodorant on the window sledge for you. Which we're thinking about doing for Thrud this year. Yeah,
that's not just tournaments. That's shops.
Take more than one player shirt. Take at least one a day, guys. Come on.
Now, I'm talking here about fun. I've got someone trying to organise a World Cup. The current one's got 2,500 people going. You realise, Stig?
Yep. Realise that.
I've got Eldritch who's organising tournaments, ensuring people have fun. You're literally making them have fun.
Twisting their arms until they start having fun.
Yeah, you will have fun at my tournaments. You won't just try hard. And Glow, here you are talking about having fun, but you're taking 60 people in 10 teams to the World Cup.
Yep.
How can that possibly be fun to organise? How can any of you justify this fun statement when you're obviously all try-harding? Is it everyone else having the fun?
Because I get my fun from the angelic little smiles on their little faces and the fact that they're all going to be buying me beer when I'm out there. So I actually have to take virtually no spending money with me. I've got 60 pints lined up already, which over 3 days is eminently doable. That's fair. Seriously.
Glowworm, I'll help if you need.
You're in. The first World Cup was in Amsterdam that I ever went to, and I figured it out very early on. And whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, I picked a team of people that I'd want to spend a week in Amsterdam with. Yeah. When we went to Dornbirn, we did the same. When we went to Lucca, all right, out of sequence, but we did the same. Yeah. it is difficult.
I don't think
now
I'd want to
find-
spend the same week people in Lucca as in Amsterdam. I think that would be different people for me, but that
Yeah,
might
but
just be
these were
my
people-
experiences of Amsterdam. That's lovely
This were
city.
people that didn't pay for their
Tulip
time.
markets
so
are very, very nice.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah, go to the World Cup. Go with your friends. Yeah, and if I take 60 people and anybody says, right, are these all your friends? Well, I can name them all. If they were all stood in front of me, I could probably point to every one of them. Maybe not their real
what
names.
about their
maybe not-
actual human names?
No, because they're
No,
rubbish.
right.
Everybody needs a superhero name, don't they? Come on. Yeah. Simon is a boring old security guard, but Glowworm
Stig doesn't
is
even
powerhouse.
get the one he wants. So no,
Okay,
apparently
somebody
not.
already has it.
Yeah,
I
somebody
will
already
say,
has it.
and this ties
Question
into
for
what
you.
Glowworm's saying there. So, I mean, York, for me, I'm quite lucky with us being part of the Geordie Blood Bowl League. It's a good crowd. They've been going to tournaments for a long time. They're relatively well known, which is kind of nice because you get introduced to other people through them. But those Friday and Saturday nights in York, the Day Invitational was similar down there. I went to the first one of those, and the social scene around it is fantastic. Getting, without meaning to frame anybody as a nerd, but getting 120 nerds together in Brewdog or something, it's brilliant. You're all just sitting there, you're having a laugh, everybody's in the same boat. That, to me, is what I'm looking for example, from a World Cup. It's like Glowworm says, he wants to go with 60 people that he doesn't mind hanging around with, because that's where his enjoyment's going to come as well. Yeah, you're going to play some games, but between all those games, after all those games, that's where your pleasures. That's what you're going to remember.
Are you saying that one of the key advantages for a World Cup of a Newcastle bid is the big market and the legendarily friendly welcome of the Newcastle people?
We are well into marketing the big market as part of our bid. Don't you worry.
Come here.
I think we're about to be joined on the show by one of Glowworm's many animals. There we are. Look, we've got a dog. Now we're a proper Blood Bowl stream. Now you watch, the viewership will triple in about 2 minutes because there's a dog on screen.
Milo.
Now,
Milo.
that brings me to something else, guys. I don't know how many of you play online. I mean, obviously, it's been very tabletop focused so far. On One World Wide Blood Bowl, we do try and cross all the genres, try and look into all the cliques. We do shows sometimes just about one thing, like, when Blood Bowl 3 releases. But wherever possible, that is adorable. And so's the dog. We do try and do shows about one thing sometimes, but I do want to lean into the other formats a bit while we're here. Do any of you play online? Do you play either Fumble or Blood Bowl 2/3? Although not today, Blood Bowl 3 has broken today, but is sort of doing all right.
About 3,000 games in Fumble, roughly?
Yes, see, absolutely, I know you do. So it was a question knowing the answers I'm going to get, Eldritch. I have done some research, I promise.
It's I haven't played for a while. And it's
good boys.
It's a different kind of fun playing on Fumble.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. Is you three people I trust now. I've asked you, and I believe in your fun attitude to Blood Bowl. Can it translate online?
Fumble, I say hello to someone.
Of course you can.
I get nothing back. It's good luck, have fun. Yeah. It's not a particularly fun experience. Okay, you have the challenge of the game, the
1 minute
solving and everything else, but it's
boys.
Lost that social interaction. You've lost that contact with another person.
Yes,
I'd agree with that. I think you lose that face-to-face reaction, don't you? I mean, even if you do a text chat, you still haven't got that, the reaction of seeing how they are. You lose a little bit of the tone of what you're saying in text chat, so something that you might mean as a joke in person can come across fairly offensive on chat. And I think that little bit of distance does take away some of the fun of it. I think we all do it because we want our fix, but it doesn't replace tabletop for me.
And like a crack hoe, much less attractive when actually taking their crack. Is it online? Is that what we're all doing? It's the unavoidable ugly side of our needed behaviours, and allowing us the freedom to then be perhaps nicer people at other times. No disrespect to crack hoes. If there is one in your family, I don't mean any hate. Nothing but love, obviously.
I think there's some coaches I can have great games with, and there's some people that I've been glad to meet at the tabletop because I've played them online and had great games and great conversations with. But I think, again, it comes down to it's better to meet them in person than it is online. For me, that's a more enjoyable experience.
I mean, it is, and also the fact is that you've left the house, you've possibly even got dressed up. Even those of us not putting on a wrestler's outfit have probably put clean underwear on, at least for day one. there is an atmosphere of, I've gone here, I'm gonna be here for 2 days or a full day with all these people, and you sort of commit to that. I mean, some of the newer players, like you say, don't, or they find it very tough to. But if you've been to one or two tournaments, you sort of know what you're in for, and there's a real atmosphere of, we are doing this. And I think that really helps people have fun no matter what the dice are. Even the people at the bottom end are very rarely having the sort of terrible time, or the level of quitting you get if you run a similar tournament in an online format. Once people know after they've lost 3 of their first 4 games, the odds of them playing games 5 and 6 are incredibly tight. There's so many dropouts in an online format for that. Can we bring the fun of tabletop, that human to human exuberance? Can we bring it into the online world? Is it even possible? Blood Bowl 3 has gone further than ever before. Your only way you can respond to the opponent is with 6 pre-decided emotes. Things like cut your throat, or cheering seems to be beating your chest and then doing this with your hands. Now, when I've been to my kids' events and do this, they apparently they think I'm being weird and non-supportive, and their friends mention it, so I've had to stop. How do we get fun online? What can we do? How do we help the online people find the fun?
I think part of the difficulty, it's like the online, it's almost like you're inviting someone into your house if you chat to them. And I think that's never going to feel as natural with a stranger as, weirdly enough, meeting them in a room full of other strangers.
If you're playing in leagues online, you're generally playing the same people over a period of time, so you're building up a relationship with them. Forex, for example, at Mark. I'm good friends with Mark by playing with him on Fumble. And it was just a random pick-up black box game.
It's a baby.
Oh, hello.
Oh, he's gorgeous. That's a fairly young baby too.
He's 4 weeks premature at the moment.
Oh,
wonderful.
How delightful.
In answer to your question, yes, you can bring some elements of the fun aspect onto online play, and it generally works better in leagues where you can build up a rapport and you get to know the people who you're talking to. So when you're facing them across the pitch and you've maybe got a headset, and Blood Bowl 2 was better, as you say. Blood Bowl 3 is a bit of a train wreck, and I doubt if it's going to get much better anytime soon. But Blood Bowl 2, yeah, you could. And I played in a Blood Bowl league in the MML on Blood Bowl 2, which was one of the bigger online leagues. It was a bigger PlayStation league. I unfortunately play on PlayStation rather than PC. So little fish, little pond. But a lot of those guys then transitioned over to tabletop as well, which is great. So now when I play them online, I actually know them, Thunden, Dio, quite a few of the other guys, which is nice. But you're never going to get the same interaction as you are when you're sitting across from somebody and he rolls a really bad dice and you look at him and go, give me a minute, you go up and bring him back a pint. That's never going to happen online,
I mean, it keeps falling apart, but something I've kept trying to do in the 145, and every time at the moment there's a team running it. I titularly run it, but there's a team doing a very good job, so I've been able to step aside for a few months and let them really have their head, bring all sorts of creativity to it as well. But one thing I've always encouraged is people to actually use the Discord channel to talk whilst they're playing. We've had both Wildrum and Mystic Pangolin talking in the chat on Twitch, saying exactly the same thing, that ability to actually talk to someone changes that online experience again. And turns it back into something a bit more. That's Hef under a different name.
I know who Mystic Pangolin is. Yeah, the only reason he's not called Mystic Pangolin is because he's got 30 shirts with Hef on the back of him. Yeah, otherwise he'd change his half name tomorrow. Yeah,
it's also
the only reason.
The only reason he's changed it to Mystic Pangolin is he's now a hunted man as Hef.
He's an endangered species.
Too many people. Yeah, he wants a fresh start. Too many people already know him, so he can't escape his past. Like many of us, weighed down by the person he is and the things he's done and said.
I think Eldritch was leading into it as well, which is one of the best ways to get that kind of social and increase that fun interaction.
Yeah.
It's the league play, isn't it? It's people you play regularly, you build up a relationship. You get it a little bit tournament, see people you see regular. And part of the tournament scene is, between games, catching people that you know. But online, for me, I think the only way it becomes more friendly is when you get that relationship with somebody because you played them again and again and again in a league. And I think, obviously, I don't know which league you play on Fumble or did play, but there will be coaches that have been there forever and are totally open to that.
Yeah, I've been in the White Owl League. I was in the White Owl League for a long old time, and at the moment I'm in the Super Bowl. I've given White Owl League a brief hiatus because they're not redrafting and the teams are getting stupidly big, and I'm finding it a bit dull. So I might restart with a new team down in the lower levels, which I'll find just more fun to play, to be honest.
Did you say goblin?
No, I
Goblins
don't
to me,
know. I
yeah.
was thinking of doing something I haven't tried before. I might do Corn. Something just silly and fun I really haven't laid a hand on. So I've literally not played a game of Corn yet, so I might start a Corn team.
You mentioned goblins as well, and it takes something we were talking about pre-stream, and it's something that Eldritch has said. He went to Block Around the Clock, his first Block Around the Clock, and he took goblins. And I'll just ask you now, I'm assuming you weren't taking that tournament too seriously.
I was going to have fun, go to a Blood Bowl tournament, because I've heard about them. I go for a weekend away. It's in the Hartlepool. And
Shit. Thank you.
the best fact about Hartlepool is that they hung a monkey because they believed it to be a French spy.
Yep.
And when you're playing 11 games of Blood Bowl in 24 hours, you got to get a certain amount of fun out of that, don't you?
And
Because I know at 4 o'clock in the morning, nothing is fun.
I mean, I know some people that say Blood Bowl anyway isn't a fun game. It's a game about coping with pain. It's almost like a self-flagellation. But surely 11 games in 24 hours, it gets to a point where it's just doing it. You're not enjoying it, you're enduring it.
Yeah.
it's a different
But I
type of
think
game.
that's where you and your opponent have to make it into something. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. The only way that you're going to play a game of Blood Bowl is if the person opposite you is entertaining enough to play against. And you've got that obligation as well for them. And again, I don't know how you found your first one. I know my first one was hard work, but
Yes.
it was thoroughly enjoyable, and just it's that energy you get in the room and the fun, and that everybody else is in the same boat as you. And there's something about when the sun rises that just makes it all a little bit more worthwhile.
But a 24-hour period where, frankly, you can't lock the door in the smallest room in the house and just spend 45 minutes with you and your phone. I think that's the bit I'd miss. Not the sleep, not the food. It's just a little bit of peace and quiet at some point in the day. I don't know. I'm half tempted. There's a little part of me that desperately wants to leap in and do one of the 24-hour tournaments, but my partner is very firm that if I'm going to have a heart attack, I should do it somewhere where she's willing to be. And she just thinks she genuinely thinks it might kill me. So that would be interesting. Just to survive one, I guess, would be a notch.
I drank a lot of caffeine. I drank a lot of energy drinks.
I've done a couple, and I doubt if I'll do any more. But yeah, I don't regret doing them. It was part and parcel of what the scene was, and you like I say, you're doing a fun tournament, you're doing a competitive tournament, you're doing a wacky rule tech tournament, you're doing a variant tournament. You got to say, okay, well, I'll do a 24-hour tournament. It's just
you genuinely don't have to. And I checked that sentence all the way through, and the bit where you said, well, then you've got to do it. You don't have to. It turns out you can not do the 24-hour tournament and do all the other stuff, and that's all right too.
75% of this stream disagree with you there.
75% of the stream a week.
Well, I'm getting outvoted. So there's not much we can do for the online people. We do think if they can talk, if they can form relationships during leagues and things, that's going to bring some more fun to it.
Yeah.
Are the streamers to blame? Because there's nothing more try-hard than a streamer. I've never never seen a streamer streaming Blood Bowl that wants to be in a league or have to schedule games and feels bitterly resentful if they don't have instant things to show their viewers. Are the streamers teaching people to be not very social, to not find the fun?
No, I think streamers are more. You should give them a little more credit for bringing people over, perhaps to the tabletop side of it and making it more sociable. I can put my headset on, fire up Blood Bowl 2 and chat to one guy, or I can go on Andy Davo's stream or your stream when you're streaming, and I can speak to 200 people on Discord.
Well, you can on Andy's, more like 20 on mine, but yeah.
Which is the more social environment?
Andy Davo's definitely. He's quite nice.
Yeah. I think as well, when you look at...
As opposed to playing Blood Bowl 2 and just having a headset on and chatting to Ollie or Hardcore Stig there, I can sit here on Discord and I can speak to 200 people because you're allowing me that platform to speak. You're allowing 200 people that platform to speak and be sociable.
Thank you, Jay Bazza says we're 200 in spirit. That's very nice. Yeah, you me and Milo Mindbend. We
think
have the
something-
spirit of 200 between us. Is there a responsibility on those of us running tournaments, on those of us, I can't deny to some degree in the public eye as a Blood Bowler, I've put myself out there and said, look at me, so people do. Is it partly our responsibility to say, look, fun's good, fun is part of this, keep having fun? And to the people, I'm not going to name who they were, but to two people who I like a lot, and I know a lot, one of them's been on the show, the other one I want to get on the show, who my friend Core said, they're trying too hard, they've stopped having fun. And there's no one having more fun than the people at the top tables, which doesn't help. Doesn't help with the whole toxic thing, mate. How do we have that responsibility to spread the fun? Should it be part of being a wise old man of Blood Bowl to say fun is key?
I don't think it's the wise old man. I think it's the fact that yourself, Rick Reckless, Andy Davo, tournament organisers like Bren, the guys who are organising football, they're the visible members of the community. And no matter what else happens, people are going to take their lead when they first turn up by the visible members. So if all they see is people heads down, don't talk, try hard, they will assume that's what this scene is. If what they see, on the other hand, is Eldritch running a fun tournament, the guys at Thud running the auctions. Andy Dave was the stream I probably watched the most, so I got more comment on him, which is that, say, he does a lot of things. He's renowned for surfing, for example. And that's a fun thing that people watch, and he figures it out and he talks it through. You see those people as a group all doing things, and hopefully that filters down to the new people coming in and the people who are part of the community. If, on the other hand, you guys were all sitting there, as I say, silently, not talking to anybody in case they disturb you thinking out your 20-minute turn, then that's how everybody turning up's going to play as well. So I think it's not less of a responsibility, it's more just you have a possibility or an opportunity to make the oncoming community into how you want it to be.
I want it to be really bad at Blood Bowl, so I win.
Well, in that case, you really need to get on Cyanide, Blood Bowl 3, you're fine.
Provably not true. I've coached and tried to help so many people in Blood Bowl that I just have to say, for those not reading my face, just hearing the audio, that was a joke. Love and peace to all, and better Blood Bowl and more happiness to everyone in the community and the hobby. I want it to grow. Let's talk to the newer players. Some of them do listen to this. Sorry, Eldridge.
I say, if you want to keep people playing,
yes,
coming to events, keep winning leagues, keep watching streams or whatever, there's got to be something they enjoy in it, and more to the game than winning. Enjoy it.
I mean, to me, that's like IQ tests. Everyone's, IQ 2000. Don't start me. Videos and things. For everyone that has got an IQ of 120, 130, someone needs watering twice a day and has 70. There's always the balance. That's why 100 is the average. And simply, if I'm going to try and get better than 222 at every tournament, half the people there aren't going to, are they?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I need them to keep coming back because I want the tournament to happen again. So how do we ensure it's fun down at that end of every kind of Blood Bowl? Or is it kind of patronising to even try to?
I think it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that if you're down there and you're not enjoying yourself, you aren't going to come back full stop. So the very fact that you regularly have people below your 222 means that people are down there with that in mind. And that because the people down there already have that in mind, somebody new coming in that environment, as I said, sees that as the example and they follow along. I think if the only way that you have fun in Blood Bowl is when you're winning, you are going to not have fun a lot more often than you're going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I mean, at my shame at the weekend, when the 3+ came up a 2 or a 1, I forget which it was, re-rolled it. It was another one of those. I did slam my dice cup down. I was a bit cross for a couple of seconds. But I was laughing about it. I had one cigarette and I was laughing about it later. And when I came back, and I put online the story of, just in a paragraph, the story of my week, my day. Someone said to me something I found quite interesting. He said, well, think about it this way. You've made someone else's weekend. And I do think about it that way. I mean, Salty was so thrilled to get the draw off me and to win his first, NAF title, and that's fantastic. He's a really nice guy. I was genuinely chuffed for him. And I do sort of know that people have said it to me on Fumble that I'm an end-level boss. They love smashing a team into me and getting a win, or even a draw. So I can see the fun in that, but And I do try and have fun with the people I'm with, but how do we help the people that are down at that bottom end and not having it fun? How do we get them to come back and say, no, I can still have some fun? What do you do to make it fun if you're like my friend King Gildra, Phil, represented Team England, and when I think it was 0-1-5 in his first time pulling on an England shirt? How do we keep him coming back? Obviously, he shouldn't. He should never represent the country again. He let us down. How do we keep him having fun playing Blood Bowl? And people like him. Other people terrible at Blood Bowl.
People like him aren't who you're talking about. You're talking about people who...
No, I'm holding him up comedically because obviously he's quite good at Blood Bowl.
Yes. You're having a crap game. You pick something, a target. I'm going to foul Mummy off the pitch. I'm going to try a 6-up pass. It might work. Just find something else. The target is fun.
Sorry, someone's kissing a baby.
Yeah. That's my youngest boy, and that's his son that you saw.
Good.
I've seen him kissing a baby. I'd vote for him.
Glad it's verified, because otherwise, if people are just bringing random babies around your house, could they bring some around mine?
Yeah, that's
Careful what you
absolutely
wish
fine.
for.
We got loads of random babies.
Well, I've got a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old. Cute babies are a long way away in both directions.
Well, he's my youngest. He's 22 in September, so So
don't be too sure on the 18.
Yeah, so don't be too hard on. That's a long way away. Yeah, because I'm looking back at where you are now. Yeah, you looking back at to where you think you should be. How do we keep people coming back? Talk to them. How did your weekend go? Well, blah blah blah. Okay. What team were you using? Open up a dialogue. What team were you using? Well, I was using Skaven. Right. So what happened? Well, every game I got smashed. Right. Okay. So what happened? Well, I won the kickoff and I elected to kick every game. Okay. Well, maybe you should elect to receive every game for the next couple of games, and you won't lose 3 linemen in the first turn. See how that works out for you. Yeah.
But all the sweaty tryhards say if you've got any kind of fast or agile team, you kick. They literally all say that. I know, but they do.
And when you're good enough to play 4 or 5 players down with your elves, with your wood elves, with your Skaven, with your, and it's like you say, pick your moments. You might be 4 Skaven down, but if you've got a wrestle lineman, you get 1 dice on the ball. That's your moment. The ball's on the floor. You're scoring with a gutter runner next turn. And then it's a reset.
Eldritch, you came in?
I think it's you people.
Yeah.
To learn how to play the basics of the game. So you engage, you start a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Help them learn.
Do you say to them, look, the problem here is you need to learn the basics of the game?
Wouldn't be that blunt, probably, no. But I'd say, well, try this, try that. If people, Cyanide's first Blood Bowl, it's AI. I played loads of that. I can beat the AI every time. I can beat a computer. I must be quite good. Go to sit down against a real person. Oh shit! I'm not actually very good at all.
Yeah, and that's not a fun moment. So how do we keep that person having fun? They've had loads of fun smashing the AI around. They're not going to get that level of fun in Blood Bowl for a while. So
I think Eldridge put it out there with a really good idea, which is that you need to almost encourage people to not go, you need to win every game. Set yourself a goal within it.
Right.
So, you might be down the bottom tables, you're not doing so great, it's not your day. You might be a great player and it's just not your day. So you just go, I'm going to surf this. And that's going to be a win for me. I'm going to do something I've never done before, I'm going to achieve. If you can get people to look at something other than winning as a way to enjoy the game, promote that. And like Joe says, you speak to them after the game.
So
and you
we're
go,
talking about sub-goals,
aren't
we?
Did you achieve that? Yeah.
So as a trainer, we talk about that a lot, that you don't necessarily end game where you want to get at the very beginning. You say, what are the steps to get there? And you'd have a look at those much smaller, more achievable steps. So perhaps in having a game, you can't say, I'm going to have fun by being, in the top 4 people in this 40-person tournament. You can say, well, I'm going to have fun by, trying to play games where I don't feel I've made massive mistakes at the end of it. Or I know I've got 2 witches, so I'm going to try and surf things, and I'm going to see how that goes and how well I do with it. Setting those smaller goals are much more achievable and can be fun when you get those right, because you've not set yourself a tower of expectation. And
it might sound like a weird statement, but you wouldn't turn up at Wimbledon and expect to play on centre court.
That's why I wouldn't turn up to Wimbledon.
No matter how good you are at Sunday down the local park playing with your mates, you don't expect to turn up at Wimbledon and play on centre court.
If I was called 13, I'd leave.
Yeah, you know, fair dues. Well, yeah, but we always need people to paint the lines, you know. So yeah,
To be honest,
that's
as
the
well,
only way you'll get on there. Or are you going to throw orange paint everywhere? But what I'm saying is, people need to be realistic in their expectation as well. You turn up at a tournament and all of a sudden you've come from your league where you pay 20, 30, 40 different, if you're in a bigger league. Yeah. Now, some of you, like Hardcore Stig there, have got some of the best players in the country playing in the Geordie League up in the northeast. Yeah. I'm down and I don't currently play in the Swindon League, but we've got one or two players who are on the fringe of the England. Mike Davies and his boys, very good players. The rest of us are pretty much journeyman players. You know, we turn up, play, go on. You can't expect to turn up at a national tournament and play on table. Some people do. I remember Jim Jiminy many years ago bursting onto saying nobody had heard of him, and then next year he was winning 3 or 4 tournaments. You know, nobody had ever heard of him. But it's the reason that sticks out is because it is unusual that somebody just turns up and performs at that level in almost instantly. So this is what you see. You know, it's not a sport as such; it's a game. And there are always, and that makes it even more difficult. If you're really good at a sport, then yes, you should be expected to play at a national level. But it doesn't matter how good you are. If the dice aren't good for you, you're not going to achieve that level.
But I mean, there also still has to be fun, doesn't it? I mean, there's famously there was a footballer who played for. Oh, I'm going to have to say it.
Go on.
For Tottenham Hotspur, who, during an interview, talked about how he'd get the tube to work, as he called it, and no one recognised him because they thought, well, that can't be a footballer on the tube. And he said, I don't watch football at home. I don't listen to football things. I don't watch, other games. It's my job. I don't even really like football. I'm just good at it. So this is my job. This is how I earn a living. Do you think there's people for whom that's become Blood Bowl, that it's something they've decided to get good at, and they've stopped enjoying themselves?
I think
if you could just decide
Stig,
two things
we
in a
haven't heard
couple
from Stig for a while. Glow, let's bring Stig in on this, and then we'll bring you back, son.
I think there's a number of players that I've known personally, and no names mentioned, that I've turned around them and they perform at a high level. They're good players. And what I've said to them is, sometimes you go to a tournament, 2-3 games in, you're not at the top end, you're not going to win it, and you're just grinding through. And I've said to them, take halflings, take some daft team with some daft build, and remember that this is fun. Take that step back from trying to win the Champions League and win the kick around in the park, or just enjoy the fact that you're out on a football pitch, from your football analogy. Go there and remember that it's not always win-win-win. Just go there.
Brought back that scene
no
from so many
yourself.
football films where they do exactly that. They're walking down the road and then they have a kickabout with some kids in the park, don't they?
Take the pressure off yourself to perform and go back to the fact that you're just there to roll dice with a couple of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even if you just do from one tournament, it's almost like a palate cleanser, if you like, just to have that one day off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I found at the last NAFC, I played the sevens 2 years running now. Probably, hopefully not do it again. We'll see. And that was supposed to be that. It was my don't try, amuse-bouche before the tournament itself. And because of an incident we discussed off camera, I don't necessarily want to talk about that tonight. I didn't particularly enjoy the sevens tournament the night before. I actually quite enjoyed the NAFC until the round 5, where my sweaty tryhardness met the unluckiness of the lottery as to who gets to compete on the final table. But it did occur to me after that sevens that my fun isn't dependent on the format. My fun's dependent on me, isn't it? It's on my format. It's on how I'm approaching the game. The only person that can make Blood Bowl fun is me. Your opponent as well, right?
Yep, definitely. Definitely.
Can't I have fun in the face of their tryhardiness? Can't I sit opposite a non-smiling gangster who's going to stare at the table, roll 85 dice before he explains what any of them are, and can't I just be sat there smiling? Won't that freak him out more than if I'm trying to do the same?
I do have a coach. I have a coach up here who plays in a lot of our tournaments, and in the nicest way, he does love to try hard, and he knows it. And there's nothing I enjoy more than going over to his game and griefing him about that fact. And it's done in a friendly way, I don't mean in malice by it. And there's been a few times when he genuinely has been up at the top tables, and I'll stay away for that reason. I don't want to put him on tilt.
Right.
But it is your entertainment. It's your time. You enjoy it. If you're playing against someone who's a tryhard, then you enjoy that game anyway. your fun doesn't need to be dependent on the person opposite you. It helps if they're fun, but you can still enjoy yourself. You can still go, I'm going to foul your best player because that's fun to me. You know, if you're playing online in a league, you can try to kill their star player because that's entertaining to you, and some people do.
Is it okay if some of my fun is them not enjoying my fun? Or is that instantly a bad toxic thing?
It is
For
really,
me,
I think
you can't. Your fun needs to be about what you are doing, what you're achieving. If your opponent rolls nothing but ones and skulls, it sucks for them.
Yeah.
I think it sucks for you as well.
yeah, I think that some of the worst games
You
we've all
can't
played have been the
you
one-sided
can't
dice.
lean in and laugh at them and say that's hilarious. Ha ha ha! You suck.
There's
I think a
ways to
lot of
do
Blood
it.
Bowlers do lack empathy. I think a lot of us do lack empathy when occasionally we should remember that the person sat across from us has paid and given up their time and their weekend and possibly time with loved ones and families to be there. And when they're getting their arse handed to themselves through no fault of their own, then sometimes, like I say, is the time for you to get up, say, give me a moment, go back, stick a pint in their hand and say, there you go, fella, let's both laugh at your dice from now on. You know, and
Yeah.
the same for me. I do the same. I, like yourself, I've done something and I've gone, oh, and I've got really angry with myself. Very rarely do I ever lose my rag with my opponent. Very rarely. In you know, I can't remember 400, 600, however many NAF games I played. But occasionally you'll see me, and if you ever see me sit back and put my arm over the back of the chair, basically I'm doing a reset. I'm like, stop and think and remember that the person opposite you is giving up their time, their money, their time with loved ones to be here. So be fair to them. If you cannot be fair to yourself, be fair to them. And then I'm like, right, sorry about that, fella. That was a bit of a dick thing to do. And we just carry on. And it's almost like a reset. But yeah, I think that sometimes empathy goes a long way. And the other thing is, and I'm sure everybody here will agree with me, sometimes it's better when you're playing people you know. Because if it's Ollie doing something stupid, I'll jump on him for it. And I know he'd jump on me for it because he knows at the end of the day who I am. I know who he is. And I know at the 20 minutes after the game, we'll be having a drink and a laugh. You know, whereas when it's a stranger and you don't know them and you don't know if they're being malicious or actually vindictive, you've got to play it a little bit cautious sometimes. Just sometimes.
Stig, let's come back to the wrestlers. So you, dressed as a wrestler, giving out sweets, which was, I mean, the sweets really did help. But with an entirely wrestle team going to one of the most competitive formats there is in the UK Blood Bowl calendar, did you think there's a chance someone really doesn't like this? You know, thinks I'm taking the piss or...
In 100% honesty, never crossed my mind.
Good.
I figured if I was going to turn up against some try-hard teams, and again, as I think Lowe's alluded to, that some of the guys in our league are up there. And I know they wouldn't be offended by it even if they didn't know me. And that's how I kind of judged everybody else. I assume that anybody up on the try-hard will go, here's an easy win. So they're not minding because that's what they're there for. Whereas anybody who's not in that try-hard bracket, I hope they would have appreciated the fact that this is something unusual. And it also came down to something that I personally hate in tournaments and cancelling it out, which is I hate to turn up to a tournament and play the same team 3 times in a row.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the 5 god dwarfs, you know the roster that's set in stone.
Yeah.
I was turning up with a roster that no one's seen before, so I kind of hope that what somebody will go is, well, I've got a new puzzle to solve or something like that. That's where I hope that it would take away some of the sting of this might be a bit of a grind or a bit offensive for somebody to turn up against somebody who's not trying. And I was trying, just not very well.
Oh, absolutely. I'm certainly not accusing you of taking it lightly. And I think cosplay is a fantastic addition to any pastime, hobby, or sport. We have a little bit in Blood Bowl. You're not alone in occasionally dressing up. Glow, you're known to don the odd outfit.
I turned up at the NAFC dressed as a Croxigal once, and raised £500 for the Thud charity in doing so. And I had one negative comment from a guy that said, "Can't believe you come in your onesie, mate. Why? That's night. Why is he hearing the stuff he goes to bed in like?" And then when I accosted him at the bar and said, "Look, mate, the only reason I'm doing this is because people have sponsored me to do it to raise money for Thrud." He put his hand in his pocket and gave me a £5. You know what I mean? Again, it's just talking to people. But yeah.
So he was rude and cheap. Well, we've learned something. That's
Sounds like everybody I've ever married.
Sorry, was he a northerner? In which case, price of a deposit
He
on a
was
house.
definitely
That's
a
fine.
northerner.
Wow.
He was definitely a northerner because the fiver were on a bit of elastic. It had a picture of the king on it.
Still made of paper, was it?
Come on, I feel busy. I'll take him for a minute. Come on, sorry, guys.
Eldridge, on the assumption that we've, like me and Glow there, have obviously done a bit of the cosplay thing. Like, and obviously, Purple, you sat down opposite me, and I assume you took it reasonably well from your reactions when I was talking to you.
Oh, I loved it. It was my highlight of the weekend. Playing you.
Is this a thing that would bother you, Eldritch, if you were there, or?
No, not at all. If I go to Thrudball in August, I'm doing most Thrud-like, and I'll be dressed as a goblin referee.
I was going to say, you don't strike me as a particularly big fella to be Thrud-like. Okay.
And I'll have this on.
Fantastic.
I'll have my referee shirt on.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog when it comes to Thrud-like.
Well, I'm reasonably pleased then, because one of the invites I did have out for this event was to Tibham the Goblin, who obviously constantly cosplays as a referee. So it would have been interesting to have him on for that reason. But I mean, it turns out you're all into that freakish pastime as well. Is there a club? Are you like the dice rollers? Am I suddenly going to find there's 4,500 of you online?
It's more than you think.
Dice collectors, sorry.
I would like to say it's not as prevalent as you think, because I did put forward to my team for the World Cup since there's 6 of us for the YMCA, but apparently that's not happening. Apparently no one wants to dress in leather in Alicante in the summer.
I'd have done the motorbike cop for you, absolutely, if asked.
And I would pay money to see that.
I'm a working actor. I've worn all sorts of costumes. I mean, I would say I've cross-dressed or worn drag before, because back in those days that's how it was referred to. But I've certainly played roles which nowadays would be seen as gender fluid or as totally transgender roles. Privates on Parade, for example, a great show on which some mothers do have was It Ain't Half Hot Mum. That's right, was based. Which we'll never see that on TV again. Goodness me knows the amount of racism and homophobia in that. But it was funny for its time, the late 70s, when it was that, or I'm not going to say what the opposite was, but there were things on TV that were less wholesome. It turns out in retrospect. So having fun, we sort of have all said that we quite like having fun. I'm kind of kidding. I kind of do go and mostly have fun at things. People don't believe it, but it's true. And I like going to some tournaments with the crazier rule sets, like Eldritch runs, because it means I'll take usually a race I haven't taken maybe to a tabletop before. Find some way looking at the rule set and go, well, if you added that silly thing to this race, that could be quite interesting. Let's try that. It doesn't mean you don't have to be competitive, but we also think it perhaps slightly limits you if you're not having fun. That mindset itself is a bit of a trap. Have I gone too far, or do we think that's true?
The mindset
of I need to stop having fun and just compete.
Very much so. As we've said many times already.
Yeah.
If you're going there, I'm going to win this tournament.
You're not going to.
Not going to win it. But the championship, I'm going to win this tournament. Might, but probably won't. You need to be good, and you need luck. And
I think the thing with it is, though, it's like if you're going to go to a tournament to win it, I think there's no point going to Pop World until 4 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night. You're not going to rock up on Sunday and play your best game.
That is officially known as the Purple Goop preparation method. But okay,
that's true. But the flip side of that is, I don't think you will ever be good enough to go to that tournament and play to that level if previously you did not enjoy your tournament. If you didn't in the past have fun at tournaments, you will never commit to that level.
One thing,
and you wouldn't go back.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that did make me sad. I occasionally do a little bit of coaching, and one person I coached. I mean, I don't tend to advertise. Please don't take this as an advert. So one person came to me and said, "Would you mind doing some coaching?" And I said, "Fine." And what always struck with me was we did a couple of sessions, and then we had a chat offline. They were talking about how they'd had some coaching from other people, and every one of them had said, "No, you need to stop doing that. You need to stop doing that. You need to start doing this, this, and this." Whereas the first question I asked was, "Well, what do you find fun, and what do you want to do more of?" And even though I sort of agree with the other coaches that what they want to do more of isn't perhaps the most competitive way of playing Blood Bowl, that's what that person finds fun. So that's what they want to do more of, and find a way of trying to do that more successfully. And instead of saying, well, stop doing that and do something that is more likely to be successful, you can actually just say, actually, okay, I'll be honest, this was about that person wanting to throw the ball. And in the 2020 rule set, throwing the ball's not a very good idea. So most people trying to coach you will say, well, don't do that. Do something else. They go, no, I want to do that. That's what's fun for me. Can you help me make that a little bit better, a little bit more competitive? And the answer's got to be yes. If that's what you're finding fun, that's what you should be doing. That's why you're in the game. And no one, that was the depressing bit to me, was that anyone that's sort of trying to help someone should always say, well, no, don't say no to someone having fun. That seems a terrible, terrible message in a game like this. There's loads of other games out there. Surely they'll just go and do something else if they're not having fun.
In our wonderful game, no one expects you to pass the ball. So when you do it and it works, they're like, hold on a minute, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, the element of surprise in throwing a football.
Back in the days where you would rock up in the last rule system with extra arms and strong arms on a beastman.
Happy days.
Yeah, just for that long punt.
Strange game.
Yeah, and they've even nerfed Hail Mary pass to the point where, a dwarf second runner can sometimes take Hail Mary pass. If you knock it off them, you're never going to run it the length of the field with your dippy little legs. What you can do is throw it so far away they won't get it back, so that you've guaranteed stopping them. You won't get it either, but at least the drive was over. It doesn't work.
I thought we agreed not to say that word on the fun podcast.
Dwarves can be fun. And see, here's the thing, is there's all sorts of different fun, isn't there, in Blood Bowl? Now, when Core says he has loads of fun up at the top end tables, he's right. He is having fun. To him, that's fun. And also, he just really enjoys really hard competitive Blood Bowl because he finds the challenge fun. But I think you can have it fun in... Sorry, Glo?
That's because he's got no friends, so he's got nothing to lose, has he, by being ultra competitive?
He has me. No, that's not true. I've been invited to his birthday party, and 3 people I know of have accepted. So there's, the man has plenty of friends.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's a 1.5% success rate of the 200 people he's actually invited. His 3 have said they'll go. No, seriously, he's an absolutely lovely guy.
He's a lovely guy, an absolute legend.
You know what? If that's the way he gets his fun, that's fantastic. But he has to understand that other people get their fun by playing goblins or halflings. And like you say, my entire tournament will be a success. If I throw a goblin and it takes out one of my opponent's players, I've won. The score's immaterial at that point. I've won.
Yes, I think that's fair. Setting your own goals, I think having fun can help drive you forward. I think it doesn't matter if someone's cosplaying or having a tournament where you look at it and you go, well, that doesn't even feel a bit like Blood Bowl. Well, great. It is going to be Blood Bowl, but it's going to feel really different, and that's kind of cool. It's kind of good that it should. I look forward to hearing how Gus Bowl went. Please do drop a couple of paragraphs into my Discord or into the One World One Blood Bowl, because other people will want to know too. It's a fascinating new variant. It could be completely terrible, or it could be the new Street Bowl, which lots of people have always enjoyed. A bit more crazy, almost a bit less structured than Sevens, but with a similar sort of casual feel. Is that what you're hoping for?
It seems really brutal. It seems that there's going to be a lot of removals, and very quickly we'll be down to three or four players aside. And
but we had the whole Stunty League on Fumble, which was about huge amounts of removals, and people loved it.
Oh God, yep, I played in that.
I played the one that was a league where you could only take linemen, no rerolls, no apple, and you couldn't fire anyone.
Yeah, I've heard of these.
Again, ridiculous builds, but so much fun and relaxed. It's non-competitive, realistically.
Yeah. Is that the answer online? Because it's really difficult to try and get people, particularly in an online matchmaking system, whether that's Black Box Trophy or whether that's Blood Bowl 3 or 2, to get people to value your time and that game in the way that you might. Particularly if they've had a terrible day and they're then having a terrible game. Someone sat opposite you, they'll tell you their terrible day as you beat them relentlessly, and you'll buy them a beer, and it'll actually usually a good time. Online, that's out of reach, isn't it? So is fun online restricted to variant formats, to finding somewhere where people aren't sweatily grinding away and are actually just relaxing and enjoying something stupid? And we've got the Secret League, we've got, as you say, these variant rules, we've got different ways of altering what you can do and not do and fire and not fire. Is that the answer to having fun?
I think without it being a blanket statement, I think online sometimes becomes talking to your opponent as something to do while playing Blood Bowl, whereas in person and tabletop, playing Blood Bowl is something to do while interacting with your opponent. And I think that's where online is always going to have that problem. People don't go online to chat. People go online to play Blood Bowl.
Right.
Whereas at tabletop, a lot of us will turn up to socialise.
I'm silent as the grave. I'm just rolling dice and staring you down. That's not true.
Never said a word to me. It was really creepy.
I just stared at him with a malign intent. Oh, now we've got half-naked men as well as babies. I'm not going to tell you which was more distracting. That's descended from you, Glow, but it's not only is it moderately attractive and human-looking, it's managed to have offspring, so someone else found it attractive.
Yeah, we breed. We breed.
Look, I'm going to have to wrap this up. I think we've done plenty enough on having fun. There are people out there having fun. It's entirely possible. I have loads of fun most of the time playing Blood Bowl online, let alone playing it, in tabletop, which is always a good experience. But in the last few episodes, someone once gave me a really good idea at the end. Said, "Why don't you ask them what haven't you asked them you should have done?" And I've done it ever since. So, what haven't I asked you about having fun in Blood Bowl, or what is your message, your summation of why fun is important to Blood Bowl? As we start wrapping the show up, we'll start with Glow, so that he doesn't interrupt the others.
Never. My attitude towards it has always been the same. If you build it, they will come. If Ollie runs a tournament and people can say, and the great thing about Blood Bowlers is you're in a room full of experts. Every one of them's an expert. Every one of them's got an opinion on how your tournament would be better. My own answer to that is that's fine. That sounds like a fantastic idea. When you do your tournament, let me know and I'll come and give it a go. 99% of the times it never happens. If you run a tournament with whatever rule set and people find it fun, when you run it the next year, people will come back. I've seen a couple of tournaments and it has only ever been a couple that have fallen by the wayside because people haven't gone back because the rule set wasn't fun. They've gone too far or they've tried to do too much. Yeah. But like I say, my entire thing about Blood Bowl is remembering the person opposite you is a person. They've given their time, they've given their money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try and make it the experience, give your opponent the experience that you would want. Yeah. And again, and I'm going to say it, I've said it, Day said it, I'm glad it's being repeated. Perhaps it will become a mantra. Before you win at Blood Bowl, you've got to learn to lose. You can't win and you can't start winning until you've figured out how to lose. Yeah.
And if you want to learn how to lose, I am perfectly prepared to teach you.
Yeah, just sit opposite me. You won't learn how to lose, but you'll learn how to win gracefully.
Eldritch, we started with you, so I don't want to end with you. I don't want you to feel you're bookending us. What have I not asked you I should have done about having fun in Blood Bowl?
I can only echo what Glow just said, really, and essentially read the rulebook, read the fluff. It's about goblins with chainsaws running up and hitting war dancers, or it's
Always
about
war dancers.
Picking up halflings and hoiking them down the pitch to score. There's a lot of silly fun built into the game. Don't take it too seriously. 2.5 hours of your life, you're having fun with a friend, hopefully. If not a friend at the beginning, then hopefully there'll be a friend at the end. So that's what
Absolutely.
we're here for.
Hardcore Stig. I can't just call you Stig. I have a friend called Stig. Hardcore Stig. Until you fight, thumb wrestle for that name, I'm going to have to call you that. What have I not asked you about having fun at Blood Bowl?
I'll comment on something that Eldritch said, which is read the fluff, definitely. I remember back in 2nd edition, there was a rule for werewolves where if they injured a skeleton, you had to roll to see if they went and buried the bone. This is where this game comes from. This is the roots of this game. But the second thing I'd add is, as a tournament organizer, put something in for the bottom half of the room to play for. So most casualties is quite often sitting near that bottom half of the room. But put something in. One of the organisers up here did one where they were whoever did the best against an established Geordie player got something. If you want to add a little bit of fun for everybody who's not going to be winning the game, give them something to still play for at Game 6.
Yes, I mean, similarly, the backbreaker down in London has a prize for whoever has beaten the most of that club. They call themselves the Black Shirts, which they really should know some history, but there we are. So if who has beaten them, I won't say what they call it. Well, I will, because it's an adult show. They call it the Black Shirt Bully and the Black Shirt Bitch. So there's a prize for the Black Shirt that does the worst. So they're all trying not to win that. And then there's a prize for the non-black shirt that beats the most black shirt people. So even if you're not up at the top end of the tournament, which they expect to all be black shirts, you've got a good chance of winning that. It wasn't all black shirts last time because I won it. I want to talk about Squad Chaos as well. I've literally won 2 tournaments and that was one. I'm chuffed. I agree. So Howard just said in the chat that he joined Squad Chaos and it's completely changed his idea and his attitude to the Blood Bowl community. It is a community. I mean, it's one of the concepts of One World, One Blood Bowl. We don't just sit at home clicking computer games or going occasionally to tournaments. I mean, I'm not in a league, so I kind of fit the stereotype of someone that should think of everyone else as faceless. But I flatter myself I have some empathy, some humanity. And I don't. I try and think there is another human, whether I'm sat opposite them or playing through a screen at them. And I genuinely try not to give them a crap experience if that's at all on me to do so. But it's particularly tough to do that online without any kind of voice chat, without even the ability to type something in. Definitely, it can't be done. You can't form those human relationships. But you can see them outside. You can see them through Discord servers, even through, as we've said, through a league where you get to know people. You'll repeat matches against them. They'll build a rivalry, and that'll give you some of that socialization. I do think Blood Bowl is still out there for fun. I don't think I'd have been playing it for a huge amount of time of my life, but certainly 20 years online and the last 5 or 6 years on tabletop, if I didn't still find it fun in all sorts of ways and all sorts of levels. And I love laughing at myself when it all goes wrong. Maybe not at that exact second, but I promise you I am chuckling that night. I don't want One World, One Blood Bowl. I laugh about the fact that somehow it's got this reputation for just being the tryhards. It's not. I invite on the people I think know what they're talking about, and these guys are good at Blood Bowl but also have a load of fun. I'm not ashamed of the fact they're also good at Blood Bowl. I don't check anyone's ratings. I try and ask people on that I think are going to be fun. Simple as that. This is the end of One World, One Blood Bowl number 36. We've got another one coming up. We are going to have an Ask Me Anything. So I'm going to drop some adverts about that super early. I've got a gang coming on that I think are going to blow people's socks off in terms of just their knowledge of the game of Blood Bowl. And I think the ability to ask anything to people of the likes of Purple Goo is confirmed to come on for that one. Let me just check my other notes. So we've got Purple Goo coming on. Candlejack, the lovely Candlejack, and Dionysian, as he used to be known, or Spence, as he's now known on Fumble. And occasionally in Twitch he goes by the name Maximum Derrick. I think he's also known as Daddy Big Boy, but perhaps not in a Blood Bowl setting. So I've got the artist formerly known as Dionysian, Candlejack, the legendary German, the most huggable German there's ever been, and master of all things Fumble client related, and indeed Purple Goo, joining myself on the 30th of July. We're planning on doing that, so 2 weeks from tonight. If you've any questions that you want to ask any of those 4 people about anything at all, ideally Blood Bowl, but I guess we don't have to limit it to that. Drop me a PM or mention it in the Fumble has a channel about podcasts, anything asked there. Or I have my own Discord server. Do pop along there and drop it in the One World, One Blood Bowl channel there. I will also be going out to certain servers and asking the communities there if they can generate a list of questions for me. It's going to be an hour or so, a hope of lots of fun and random questions about Blood Bowl. And we'll see where it takes us. But for now, I am going to say goodnight. Thank you for coming along. Have fun playing Blood Bowl. It's a game. It should be fun. It should be silly. It is silly.
Stay safe.
And everybody wave. It finds me an easy point to find in the edit. Stay safe and go on and check out the Thrud Ball auction. The details will be in whatever format you consume this. They'll be in the notes. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the end of the bit that goes on YouTube and goes on Spotify. We're still on the stream. We won't be for very long. I will try and find somewhere to send them. If Blood Bowl 3 is fixed and anyone's playing it, or if Blood Bowl 2 is being played, they will have a target. If not, I'll probably send them to the... people know this now, so I can't pretend I'm sending them to a hot tub. Where I send them is to an otter sanctuary that's filmed out of Canada, which I just think is the most relaxing Twitch stream to have on if you're not watching Blood Bowl.
Similar kind of thing to a hot tub, isn't it?
It kind of is. You know, there's a lot of wet fur.
Well, I'm going to a wedding in late September, and it's in Weymouth Zoo or somewhere down Exeter Zoo, and I've actually booked the otter experience for the day before.
It is legal in America to marry animals, not the UK. Just check.
if I just don't come out of there after stealing an otter, there's got to be something badly wrong. They're fantastic creatures.
In the UK, you're not allowed to marry them. Only common law.
Common law otter.
I'm a big fan of otters. I'm actually the declared king of the Southeast Asian sea otter, which we found out when we visited my sister in Singapore. We went to the night zoo there, and me and my partner went into the area of the otters, and they were all doing their cute ottery things. And as I walked up to the handrail, they all, literally the entire pond of otters, stood up on their hind legs and applauded me. And I was like, this is weird. It can't just be me. So I walked away with my partner. My partner walked up, they did nothing. I walked up, they did it again. So there's only one reasonable explanation, which is they've hailed me as their king, and they're willing to fight to the death for me and my people. Now, I've never had to call them to date.
The alternative is they were warning the other animals.
No, they've hailed me as their king, Stig. How could you see that in any other way?
You're right.
Or you
I
smell
can't
like
possibly.
lamb, yeah.
Are you saying
smell
this
like
is like the
yourself.
bit where Dimmy G scared my fish off and then told everyone I've got no fish, the liar? Are you saying that they saw me as
exactly like
angry
that.
and predatory, not as their king?
You weren't carrying a fish, were you?
No, I wasn't carrying a fish. I may have had one in
You
my
did
pocket.
have a halibut in your pocket.
No, I was just pleased to see them. So obviously, I've been joking about that for years, but then we went back about 5 years later, and it happened again. I tell you, I am the declared king of Southeast Asian sea otters. No one else, only me. Thank you very much for coming on, Eldritch. I am going to raid these people off.
Thank you. See you later.
See you later. Thanks for the
Anyone that's hung out in the chat, I can't put things like that on the podcast. People will come in coats for me. So I saved it for once we'd finished. Thank you for being here tonight. Let me send you somewhere to go. Krista, I'm the declared king of Southeast Asian sea otters, and everyone's just going to have to deal with that.
We're going to get you a t-shirt, King of the Otters.
There is nowhere, so you are off to the Marine Mammal Rescue. If you don't love this, you've probably got a broken soul.
I'm off.
See you, Glow. Oh, it's going to frighten them. They'll only be me. Thanks for coming on tonight. Pleasure having you here, mate, and letting me take the piss. And of course, the big upside for me is now everyone knows that whilst I can speak a lot, there are people that can speak more.